The night of the Nine-Tails attack changed history forever. As Kurama ravaged the Hidden Leaf, Minato and Kushina fought to save their newborn son. Obito was driven back, Kushina restrained the fox, and Minato prepared the Reaper death seal. But before sacrificing himself, he looked at Jiraiya and gave one final order. Take him. Without hesitation, Jiraiya summoned Fukasaku and Shima. In a cloud of smoke, baby Naruto disappeared to the one place no enemy would ever search, Mount Myōboku. Moments later, Minato and Kushina died, sealing Kurama into their son from afar. The fourth Hokage fell, the Nine-Tails vanished, and the village believed Naruto had died with his parents. Only Hiruzen, Jiraiya, and the Elder Toads knew the truth. While the leaf mourned a child they believed was gone, Naruto began a completely different life. He grew up surrounded by ancient sages instead of fearful villagers. Fukasaku became his teacher, Shima his caretaker, the younger Toads his friends, and Jiraiya the father he never had. There was no academy, no classmates, no graduation exams. Every day revolved around becoming stronger. Before sunrise, Naruto meditated beside roaring waterfalls until his breathing was perfectly controlled. Then came endless conditioning. He climbed cliffs with his fingertips, crossed raging rivers, balanced on giant lily pads, and sprinted across uneven mountain trails. By 4, his balance and coordination surpassed many genin. Next came chakra control. Unlike Canon Naruto, he learned properly from the beginning. For months, he balanced leaves, then stones, then boulders using chakra alone. After that came tree walking, upside-down tree walking, and finally walking across crashing waterfalls, powerful enough to throw grown men away. Fukasaku refused to let him learn advanced techniques until every movement was perfect. Jiraiya constantly reminded him that huge chakra reserves meant nothing without complete control. Naruto accepted the lesson completely. Failure never discouraged him. It simply meant another attempt. By 6, his chakra control exceeded most Chunin. The Elder Toads also watched Kurama carefully. Whenever hatred leaked through the seal, Fukasaku noticed immediately. Instead of teaching Naruto to suppress those emotions, he taught him to recognize they weren't his own. Years of meditation strengthened Naruto's mind until the fox's influence barely affected him. He didn't hate Kurama, nor did he trust him. He simply viewed him as another challenge waiting in the future. Once his foundation was complete, Jiraiya introduced combat. No flashy jutsu, only fundamentals, thousands of punches, endless footwork drills, constant reaction training, sparring giant toads many times his size. Every lesson focused on efficiency instead of style. Whenever Naruto improved, Jiraiya praised him briefly before raising the difficulty again. At 7, Naruto accidentally found the Shadow Clone Jutsu inside one of Jiraiya's scrolls. Curious, he copied the hand signs. Instead of one clone, 20 perfect copies appeared. Jiraiya rushed over after sensing the chakra surge. At first, he considered stopping Naruto, then he realized what this meant. Every clone returned its experience to the original. Combined with Naruto's enormous chakra reserves, the technique could multiply his training beyond imagination. Everything changed overnight. 20 clones practiced taijutsu, others trained chakra control, survival, sealing, meditation, and the earliest stages of nature transformation. Every evening, months of experience returned to Naruto at once. Skills that normally required years now took weeks. By 8, Jiraiya quietly reached one conclusion. Naruto wasn't just matching Minato's talent, he was beginning to surpass it, and this was only the beginning. The following years transformed Naruto from a gifted child into a monster in the making. Thanks to shadow clones, every day contained months of progress. While one Naruto sparred against giant toads, others meditated beneath waterfalls, practiced chakra control, studied sealing scrolls with Jiraiya, or experimented with wind release. Every evening those memories returned at once, allowing his growth to snowball faster than anyone thought possible. By 9 years old, Naruto possessed the experience of someone who had trained for decades. Jiraiya knew raw talent alone couldn't create a complete shinobi, so he began sending Naruto on survival expeditions throughout Mount Myōboku. Sometimes he disappeared for days with nothing but a kunai and a canteen. Other times he spent weeks navigating forests filled with giant predators and poisonous creatures. He learned to hunt, build shelter, track enemies, erase his own footprints, and survive without relying on anyone else. Every mistake carried consequences, and every success made him stronger. The reckless child slowly disappeared, replaced by someone who analyzed every battlefield before making his first move. Around this time, Jiraiya finally tested Naruto's chakra affinity. The answer surprised no one: wind release. Rather than teaching random techniques, Jiraiya focused on absolute mastery of the element itself. Naruto spent months using leaves to understand cutting chakra, then advanced to slicing branches, boulders, and eventually sections of cliffs. Thousands of shadow clones repeated the same exercise until manipulating wind became second nature. What would have taken another shinobi years took Naruto only months. Soon, compressed blades of wind could carve through solid stone, and powerful gusts could launch opponents completely off balance before they ever reached him. Once Jiraiya believed Naruto's fundamentals were complete, he introduced the Rasengan. Unlike Canon, Naruto already possessed elite chakra control and years of disciplined training. The theory clicked almost immediately. The first attempt still failed, but failure only meant creating more clones and trying again. Hundreds of attempts became thousands. Within weeks, Naruto produced his first complete Rasengan. A month later, he could form it one-handed while moving at full speed. Jiraiya watched in disbelief. Even Minato had needed longer to reach that level of mastery. Naturally, Naruto wasn't satisfied. He immediately began wondering if wind release could be combined with the technique. Jiraiya stopped him before he could damage himself, explaining that forcing elemental chakra into the Rasengan required mastery far beyond what almost any shinobi possessed. Naruto accepted the warning, but he quietly continued studying the idea whenever time allowed. Another major advantage came from his relationship with the Toads. Unlike Canon Naruto, who struggled to earn their trust, he had grown up alongside them. Summoning wasn't a contract between strangers, it was family answering family. Gamakichi and Gamatatsu happily trained with him, while Gamabunta acknowledged his determination years before he ever became large enough to ride him into battle. Every sparring session against the Elder Toads forced Naruto to adapt. They exploited every opening, punished every mistake, and constantly reminded him that overwhelming strength meant nothing without intelligence. His taijutsu slowly evolved into an unpredictable style inspired by the Toads themselves. Heavy strikes blended with explosive leaps, sudden changes in rhythm, and attacks launched from impossible angles. Opponents expecting straightforward brawling instead found themselves overwhelmed by movement they couldn't predict. By the time Naruto reached 10 years old, Jiraiya realized physical training alone was no longer enough. The next step would determine whether Naruto merely became another Kage-level shinobi, or something history had never seen before. It was finally time to begin learning the power that made Mount Myōboku legendary: Sage Mode. The technique Jiraiya himself had spent years pursuing, yet never truly mastered. Even among the legendary sages of Mount Myōboku, perfect Sage Mode was considered an extraordinary achievement. Naruto was only 10 years old. By every standard, he was attempting the impossible. Training began immediately. The first lesson wasn't gathering natural energy, it was remaining perfectly still. Hours passed without movement as Naruto meditated beneath waterfalls, allowing nature to flow around him instead of forcing his own chakra outward. The moment he attempted absorbing natural energy, everything fell apart. Too little accomplished nothing. Too much caused patches of stone to spread across his body. Again and again, Fukasaku reversed the petrification before it became permanent. Hundreds of failures became thousands. Shadow clones turned months of practice into years of accumulated experience. Eventually, Naruto realized the mistake. Sage mode wasn't about overpowering nature, it was about becoming part of it. The instant that understanding clicked, everything changed. Natural energy blended perfectly with his physical and spiritual energy. Orange pigmentation appeared around his eyes as an overwhelming calm spread throughout Mount Myōboku. Every creature on the mountain instinctively stopped moving. Naruto had entered perfect sage mode. Even Jiraiya couldn't hide his disbelief. The technique that had eluded him for decades had been mastered by a 10-year-old. Naruto, however, didn't see it as the finish line. It was simply another step forward. Every day afterward, dozens of shadow clones trained sage mode simultaneously. Some practiced entering it faster, others sparred while maintaining it, others focused entirely on sensory perception. Within months, Naruto could detect chakra signatures across enormous distances, identify individuals by their chakra alone, and sense hostile intent long before an attack was launched. His strength increased dramatically. Casual punches shattered massive boulders while his speed became nearly impossible to follow. Yet Jiraiya refused to let Sage Mode become a crutch. Entire weeks passed where Naruto wasn't allowed to use it once. Instead, Jiraiya forced him to perfect his base abilities until they alone surpassed most elite jonin. As Naruto entered his teenage years, training shifted away from learning techniques and toward becoming a complete shinobi. Jiraiya expanded his sealing education beyond simple storage scrolls, teaching barrier seals, suppression seals, explosive traps, and emergency medical sealing. Wind release became more refined with every passing month, evolving from raw cutting power into precise attacks capable of striking multiple targets without wasting chakra. His Rasengan also matured, becoming denser, faster, and powerful enough to demolish enormous sections of solid stone. Soon there were very few weaknesses left in Naruto's arsenal. Realizing Mount Myōboku could teach him no more, Jiraiya began the same 3-year journey he had taken in Canon. The difference was simple. Canon Jiraiya spent 3 years building Naruto's foundation. This time he spent 3 years polishing a masterpiece. Together they traveled quietly through the hidden corners of the shinobi world, avoiding unnecessary attention while investigating the Akatsuki. Naruto fought rogue jonin, bounty hunters, wandering swordsmen, and missing nin from villages he'd never even heard of. Every battle forced him to adapt to unfamiliar weapons, unique fighting styles, poisons, and ambush tactics. He stopped viewing combat as a contest of strength. It became a puzzle. Every opponent had an answer waiting to be discovered. Jiraiya gradually noticed something remarkable. Naruto no longer needed constant guidance. Before every battle, he already understood the terrain, predicted enemy movements, and formed multiple backup plans. He wasn't simply becoming stronger than his master. He was becoming wiser. By the end of their journey, Naruto stood nearly 6 feet tall, calm under pressure, disciplined in every decision, and carrying none of the insecurity that defined his Canon counterpart. The Hidden Leaf still believed he had died as an infant. The Akatsuki continued searching for a Jinchuriki that had seemingly vanished from history. Neither side realized the strongest young shinobi of his generation was already walking toward Konoha. As the village gates finally appeared on the horizon, Jiraiya smiled. The Chunin Exams were only days away, and the entire ninja world was about to meet the boy everyone believed had died 12 years earlier. Naruto and Jiraiya arrived outside the Hidden Leaf just before sunrise. For the first time in over 12 years, Naruto stood before the village that had unknowingly mourned him as a child who never survived the Ninetales attack. Massive walls stretched toward the sky while familiar symbols covered the gates, yet everything felt completely foreign. This wasn't home. Mount Myōboku had always been home. Jiraiya quietly explained what Naruto could expect. Almost nobody inside the village knew he was alive. Hiruzen had protected the secret for over a decade to keep the Ninetales out of enemy hands, while Jiraiya prepared Naruto away from the political chaos surrounding the Jinchuriki. That secrecy had worked. The Akatsuki spent years searching for a child who, to the rest of the world, no longer existed. Now the time had come to reveal the truth. News of Naruto's arrival spread through the Hokage's office within minutes. Hiruzen stared silently as the young shinobi entered. Gone was the infant he had entrusted to Jiraiya. Standing before him was a calm, disciplined ninja whose presence alone filled the room. His posture was relaxed, his breathing steady, and his eyes constantly observed every detail without appearing nervous. Hiruzen immediately recognized traces of Minato's composure mixed with Kushina's determination. Even before sensing Naruto's chakra, he knew Jiraiya had succeeded beyond his wildest expectations. After a brief reunion, Hiruzen explained the current state of the village. A new generation of genin had recently graduated. The Chunin Exams would begin shortly, attracting shinobi from every major nation. Jiraiya smiled, realizing there could not be a better stage for Naruto's return. Instead of quietly introducing him to Konoha, the strongest young shinobi of his generation would reveal himself before elite ninja from across the world. Naruto spent the next several days learning the layout of the Hidden Leaf while keeping a low profile. He observed bustling markets, training grounds, academy students, and shinobi carrying out ordinary missions. It was a completely different life from the disciplined isolation of Mount Myōboku. He watched teams train together, children argue over trivial things, and families share meals throughout the village. For the first time, Naruto experienced the peaceful world his parents had died protecting. Meanwhile, whispers spread among the village leadership. Some older shinobi remembered the night of the Nine Tails attack and couldn't believe the Fourth Hokage's son had survived in secret. Others questioned why such a powerful shinobi had never been brought back sooner. None of them realized just how dangerous the outside world had become or how much stronger Naruto had grown because of those lost years. As registration for the Chunin Exams finally opened, competitors from every hidden village flooded into Konoha. Among them were the Rookie 9, each preparing to prove themselves against the best young ninja in the world. None of them had ever heard the name Naruto Uzumaki. None of them knew another competitor was about to enter the exams. As Naruto adjusted his forehead protector one final time, Jiraiya placed a hand on his shoulder and smiled. "Don't worry about proving you're the strongest," he said. "Just be yourself. They'll figure the rest out." Naruto nodded before walking toward the academy entrance with complete confidence. Across the courtyard, dozens of young shinobi instinctively turned their heads. They couldn't explain why, but the blonde stranger radiated a level of confidence and experience unlike anyone they had ever met. Without saying a single word, Naruto had already become the center of attention. And with the Chunin Exams about to begin, history itself was preparing to change.